Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the 6th chapter, Bhagavad-Gita, text number 4 and 5. We'll read 4 and then we'll chant 5. Text number 4 says, a person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. Purport: when a person is fully engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord, he is pleased in himself, and thus he has no longer engaged in sense gratification or fruitive activities. Otherwise, one must be engaged in sense gratification, since one cannot live without engagement. Without Krishna consciousness, one must always seek self-centered or extended selfish activities. But a Krishna conscious person can do everything for the satisfaction of Krishna and thereby be perfectly detached from sense gratification. One who has no such realization must mechanically try to escape material desires before being elevated to the top rung of the yoga ladder. Text number 5. Udared Atmanatmanam Nantamanam Abasadyat Admaiva Hi Atmano Buddhir Admaiva Rupur Atmana Udarit Atmanatmananam Udarharit Atmanatmanam Natmanam Avasadayat Natmanam Avasadayat Atmaivahi Atmano Buddhir Atmaivahi Atmano Buddhar Atmaiva Ripur Atmanaha Atmaiva Rupur Atmanaha. Word for word, this is the English Bhagavad-Gita class, English. Udared, one must deliver. Amana, by the mind. Amanam, the conditioned soul. Na, never. Amanam, the conditioned soul. Avasayadayat, put into degradation. Atma, mind. Eva, certainly. He, indeed. Atmanaha, of the conditioned soul. Banda, friend. Atma, mind. Eva, certainly. Repo, enemy. Amanaha, of the conditioned soul. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Sri Bhakti-Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is a friend of the conditioned soul, as enemy as well. Please repeat. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is the friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. Purport. The word Atma denotes body, mind, and soul, depending upon different circumstances. In the yoga system, the mind and the conditioned soul are especially important, since the mind is the central point of yoga practice. Atma refers here to the mind. The purpose of the yoga system is to control the mind and draw it away from attachment to sense objects. It is stressed herein that the mind must be so trained it can deliver the conditioned souls from the mere omniscience. In material existence, one is subject to the influence of the mind and senses. In fact, the pure soul is entangled in the material world because the mind is involved with false ego, which desires to lord it over material nature. Therefore, the mind should be trained so it will not be attracted to the glitter of material nature. In this way, the conditioned soul may be saved. One should not degrade oneself by attraction to sense objects. The more one attracted by sense objects, the more one becomes entangled in material existence. The best way to disentangle oneself is to always engage the mind in Krishna consciousness. The word he is used for emphasizing this point, that one must do this. It is also said, for man, mind is the cause of bondage, and mind is the cause of liberation. Mind absorbed in sense objects is the cause of bondage, and mind detached from sense objects is the cause of liberation. Therefore, the mind is always engaged. The mind which is always engaged in Krishna consciousness is the cause of the supreme liberation. Om Aryanatram Zasya Janandana Stakaya Chakshu Mitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Tanti Swapadantikam. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasa Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation. One must deliver himself with the help of his mind and not degrade himself. The mind is his friend of the conditioned soul, his enemy as well. So this chapter is called Dhyana Yoga or Astanga Yoga, and its verses 1 through 9 are talking about Rukshu Yoga and Rudhakshu Yoga. One means the practice of yoga, and one means one is advanced in yoga. So, when Prabhupada went to America, he went there to teach bhakti-yoga, which nobody ever heard of. And Prabhupada was staying at Dr. Mishra's ashram. They were having yoga classes. And people think when they hear the word yoga in the Western countries, they think it's some gymnastic exercise just to keep the body healthy. But the real yoga means to link with the Supreme. Not just some bodily exercise. And they asked Srila Prabhupada if we could do Hatha Yoga. And Prabhupada said, Hatha Yoga, not required. He didn't say you can't do it, but he said can do any exercise. And Prabhupada himself would go on his morning walk. One time Prabhupada was sick, a doctor came and commented to the old man, the problem with the old man, he doesn't get enough exercise. He needs to walk. So Prabhupada started walking. He would have his daily morning walk. And although Prabhupada was over 70, he walked faster than his disciples. They couldn't keep up with him. 20-year-old disciples would come back exhausted from the morning walk. And one time Prabhupada went to they took Prabhupada to a retreat, a place in Switzerland. It was called St. Helen. It was cold there. It was too cold to go outside for a morning walk. And Prabhupada decided he would walk in the hallway. So he walked from one side, he turned on the light, which was on a timer. And then he'd walk on the other side and turn on the light. Then the light on the other side went off. He'd walk on the other side, turn on the light. And walk on the other side, turn on the light. He went back and forth in this way. He had to take his morning walk inside a building, and he called the place St. Hellish. Stayed in St. Helen. And what Prabhupada did his morning walk was kept him fit for preaching Krishna consciousness. So you can do some yoga or you can do some exercise if you need to keep your body fit, but it shouldn't interfere with your sadhana, your morning program. Should be not too much, not too long, but whatever is necessary to keep body and soul together. So here, the yoga system is described in this chapter, and they have yoga studios in the West, in different cities. In New York City, they have a new yoga studio where devotees go there and have kirtan and distribute prasadam and preach to the people. So if the people want to know what real yoga is, they can read the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. That yoga is not simply just to keep the body fit, but you have to give up your sinful activities, you have to give up your sense gratification before you can actually practice yoga. So this verse is stressing the word. They have to control the mind. The mind is mentioned in the verse 4 times. 3 times the mind is mentioned. And the idea is to control the mind. Next verse says, for him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. For one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. For one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he attained tranquility. So such a man, happiness and stress, heat, cold, honor, dishonor, are all the same. So the mind is what gives us problems. Bhaktisiddhanta said, my dear mind, what kind of devotee are you? Simply for cheap adoration you sit in a solitary place and pretend to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. But this is all cheating. So a devotee went to Mayapur and told the devotees he wanted to live in a hut and chant 64 rounds every day. So they told Prabhupada, he said, okay. So after a couple of weeks, he said, I want to live in a tree house. Prabhupada said, he has material desires. He says, I want. He won't last very long. After a couple of weeks, he left. Couldn't do it. So we can't imitate Haridas Thakur and chant in a solitary place. When Lord Chaitanya was in Jagannath Puri, he went to meet Brahmananda Bharati. I'm not sure, Paramananda Bharati or Brahmananda Bharati, either one. They were both disciples of Madhavendra Puri, the godbrother, and the godbrother Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master Ishwar Puri. So when he saw this person, Brahmananda Bharati, he said, I don't see any more Brahmananda Bharati. Where's Brahmananda Bharati? Because he was wearing a deer skin. He said, Brahmananda Bharati, he doesn't wear deer skin. So then Brahmananda Bharati could understand. The Lord Chaitanya knew his mind that he was just doing this for cheap adoration, due to false prestige. And then he changed his cloth, he put on sannyas cloth, and then Lord Chaitanya accepted him, was pleased to see him. So in this way, Bhaktisiddhanta would say, we should beat the mind in the morning 100 times with the shoe, and at night 100 times with the broomstick. Of course, that should not be taken literally, or you'll have a headache. But we beat the mind by not listening to the mind. The mind is always dictating something that we may not like. In Kali Yuga, Pena Pisaha Kalavasmin Yugadanaha Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Upadritaha. In this iron age of Kali, men are but short-lived, they are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. So this is the Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, the mind is always disturbed. And so it's difficult to practice this yoga system. But this in the different ages, in Satya Yuga, the system was meditation, the Yuga Dharma, so people could do yoga. But even Vishwamitra Muni and Subari Muni, they tried to do yoga, but they were not successful. But Narada Muni, he was cursed. He was Upabara. He was a demigod, and he was attached to women. So when the Sankirtan party came by, chanting the holy name, he was chanting cinema songs. So they cursed him to become the son of a maidservant devoid of beauty. So this curse turned out to be a benediction. Because his mother was a maidservant, she engaged in the service of great soul Paramahansas, or great souls who were always engaged in devotional service, chanting the glories of the Lord, and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So Narada Muni got their association and ate the remnants of their food. And one day, a snake, his mother went to milk a cow, and she was bitten by a snake and died. So Narada Muni took that as the will of Providence, and he left that ashram and traveled till he came to some place in the forest and on the bank of a river, and he started to meditate. And by his meditation, he got the darshan of the Lord within his heart. Then he saw the Lord again outside, but the Lord said, you'll only get my darshan one time in this lifetime, and the next life you'll but you'll be more qualified. He wasn't qualified at that time. So he was successful in his yoga practice. Dhruva Maharaj went to sit on the lap of his father, while his brother was sitting on his lap. So his stepmother chastised Dhruva Maharaj, says, "You can't sit on your father's lap because you weren't born in my womb." And his father didn't protest. Although he was a 5-year-old boy, he took the insult very strongly. He went crying to his mother and decided that he wanted to have a kingdom that was greater than his great-grandfather, Lord Brahma. There was no such thing available. So he asked his mother, "How can I get that?" She said, "Well, the only way you can get that, you have to pray to the Supreme Personality, Godhead." So, even though he was a 5-year-old boy, he decided to go to the forest to seek out the Supreme Personality, Godhead. He heard he can be found in the forest. But Narada Muni came there and said, "You're a small boy, and the forest is a dangerous place, so you should go home. Besides, you're just a child, you shouldn't take your mother's insult very seriously. When you grow up, then you can think about going doing meditation, retiring to the forest." But Dhruva Maharaj said, "No, I can't take that. I can't take that instruction to heart. I must get my desired goal, so I'm going to practice meditation." So Dhruva Maharaj, he only ate berries and leaves, fruits for 3 days, for 1 month. Then he ate dry leaves for 6 days for 1 month. Then he drank water for 9 days. Then he only took air every 12 days. In this way, he controlled all his senses. And he began standing on 1 foot. And by the weight of his foot pushing down on the earth, the demigods were feeling suffocated. They couldn't get enough air. So they prayed to Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma prayed to Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu said, I will take care of this problem. So then Dhruva Maharaj got the darshan of Lord Vishnu. So these are 2 cases where the yoga process, the meditation was successful. There may be the other cases where, one case when 12th canto with Markandeya Rishi, they tried to break his meditation by sending apsaras, but they were not successful. So in the age of Kali Yuga, no one can do this kind of meditation. No one can sit quietly. You have to find a place, sacred place. You have to sit quietly. You have to be devoid of fear. You have to be free from sex desire. These things are the preliminary requirements to do meditation. So Kali Yuga, it is Harinam, 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 Evikevalo, Kluna Stevana, 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 Gatiranyata. The process for self-realization is chanting the holy name. No other way, no other way, no other way. So in order to chant purely, we have to also control the senses. Jeev Jago, Gaurachandra Bole, Kotanidra Jayomaya, Victoria Kole. Lord Gauranga is calling, wake up, sleeping souls, wake up, wake up. You have slept so long in the lap of the witch Maya. Manasa Deho, Yo Kicha Moria, Apule Duya Sampade, Nanda Kishore. Mind, body, and family, whatever may be mine, I have surrendered unto your lotus feet, O youthful son of Nanda. This is a song by Bhakti-Vinod Thakur. he's saying the mind, how the mind, everything should be surrendered to the Lord. So, in this chapter, 6th chapter, and the 12th chapter, and the 15th chapter, the mind is being discussed. Maya Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. That the conditioned living entity is it's my eternal fragmental part. Due to conditioned life, is struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. And in the 12th chapter, it says, those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engage in devotional service, always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Prita, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So the mind is the subject matter of the Bhagavad-Gita in many different places. And it's also subject matter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, or the Avanti Brahman. There was a Brahmin, and he was a miserly man and a cruel man, but he had a lot of money. So at one point in his life, he lost all his money. His family members disowned him, and he didn't know what to do. So the desire in the heart came to take sannyas, to renounce the world. So he did that, and he just took sannyas, went off, left his home family, just traveled alone, and took a vow of mona. He didn't speak to anyone. And whatever happened to him, he attributed it to the mind. So he cites many verses in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So they would beat him or tie him up or spit on his food or whatever they did to him. He never protested. He just took it as the will of providence, whatever happened. It's like Prahlad Maharaj. He met the Python man and he was just sitting in one place. Whatever came of his own accord, he accepted. So these different examples of Avdutas. Rishabdev was an incarnation of the Lord. He also renounced his kingdom, became an Avduta. And he wandered all over the earth like a dumb, dull, deaf man with disheveled hair, dirty by no clothes. And wherever he went, people would spit on him, throw garbage on him, call him ill names, beat him up, do so many things. But he never protested because he understood it was the will of the Lord, and he was out of the bodily conception of life. So whatever happened, he didn't affect him because he knew he wasn't that body. So he was doing this just to sort of set the example how one should renounce the world. So that someone can practice yoga, practice meditation, these things are meant so one can renounce the worldly activities and become Krishna conscious. So at the end of Rishabdev, he went to the forest and left the world like an ordinary man. But whoever, there was a fire in the forest, and they burned up everybody in the forest. But everyone that burned up with Rishabdev was liberated. So in this way, the mind has to be controlled. Nectar Devotion says, Savarpadi vinirmuktam tatvapena nirvalam Rishikesha sevanam bhakti ujjate. That means that the devotional service means engaging all the senses in the service of the Lord, the master of the senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. one is free from all material designations, and simply by being employed in service of the Lord, one's senses are purified. And it also says, Iha yasya hare deshe kamana manasa gira nikila api avastasu jiva mukta sauchate. One who engages in transcendental service of the Lord in body, mind, and word is considered liberated in all conditions of material existence. So we know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took to the sannyas order at the age of 24. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya criticized him, said, you're too young to take sannyas. You have a faithful, chaste wife, beautiful wife, and you have a very faithful mother, so you should have stayed in your household and taken care of them. But Lord Chaitanya said, no. The ecstatic symptoms I'm feeling, and that I couldn't stay in household life. One time Lord Chaitanya went to do his puja. He'd worship his shalagram. So tears were flowing from his eyes, an ecstatic symptom, ecstasy, and his clothes got all wet. So he thought he was contaminated, so he went to the Ganga, took bath, changed his clothes. Then he went again to do his puja, and tears were flowing from his eyes, and the same thing happened 2 times. So he went to take bath, changed his clothes, tried to do the puja. He couldn't do it. So the 3rd time he said, okay, Radha Pandit, you do the puja. So in this way, Lord Chaitanya couldn't stay in household life because his ecstatic symptoms were overpowering. And then he had a conversation with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said that generally people don't take sannyas till 3/4 of their life is finished. And he said the example of Madhavendra Puri and Prakasananda Saraswati. They were old men. But then Mahaprabhu, he showed the Sadbhuj form to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. That's the 6-arm form. And then he said to the Bhattacharya, what do you think, Bhattacharya? Do you think I'm ready to take sannyas? So in this way, Lord Chaitanya took sannyas. He took Mayavadi sannyas because at that time there was no Vaishnava sannyasas available, and out of social custom he took Mayavadi sannyas. But he was never a Mayavadi, and when he went to Benares, he didn't mix with the Mayavadis. But he did that anyway. He shaved his head and took off his Brahman thread. Some say he didn't shave his head, kept his Shika and Brahman thread. So there's 2 opinions about that. But anyway, he took sannyas, and he traveled and preached and converted everyone to Krishna consciousness. So that sannyas is forbidden in this age. 4 things are forbidden: the cow and horse sacrifice, the offering of flesh to the forefathers, the taking the sannyas order, and one more, begetting a child and one's brother, having your brother beget a child for you. So taking sannyas was forbidden in this age because people will misuse that. We see many sadhus in Vrindavan, so-called sadhus, who dress in saffron, but their only engagement is to fill their belly. They go from ashram to ashram to get some chapati, some dal. The rest of the day they just sit around, smoking beedis, drinking tea, but they don't know how to be a real sannyasi. So Prabhupada gave people sannyas, and they were young men, and they couldn't maintain that ashram. So Prabhupada said, you can change your ashram, but don't give up the fight against Maya. Here the word used is the mirror of Maya. So mirror means mud, or dirt of Maya. Queen Kunti, she's praying that she can get free from the dirt of Maya. Because Maya is the material energy, and when the conditioned soul comes in the material world, he gets bound up by the illusory energy, hand and foot. If you get bound up with strong ropes, it's difficult to get free from that bondage. So we have to understand that the living entity, when we come in the material world, the soul, but somehow we misused our independence. We had a choice, free will, decide whether to serve Krishna or not to serve Krishna. So somehow we decided we want to be in the material world and try to enjoy and be Krishna. So in that way the living entity is forced to enter the material world, and when he does so, he's immediately covered over by the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And he gets a false ego. So the false ego, the mind intelligence, are the subtle body. We have a gross body made of water, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And we have a subtle body made of mind intelligence and false ego. So when one gets a false ego, he begins to identify with the body and thinking the body and the soul are the same. When King Rahugana was on pilgrimage to go to Kapila Ashram, he was riding on a palanquin. They didn't have cars or planes in those days. So he was riding on a palanquin, and he only had 3 people to carry the palanquin. So they needed a third person to carry the palanquin. And then they found Jad Bharat. Jad Bharat was a self-realized soul, but he was acting like a dull, dumb man. But he had a very strong body. So they asked him to carry the palanquin. So he didn't protest. So he started carrying the palanquin. But the king wasn't getting a very nice ride. It was uncomfortable. So he said, what's the problem here? Why I can't get this? Why can't you walk properly? Well, the other carriers were afraid of punishment because Jad Bharat was carrying the palanquin, but at the same time, he didn't want to step on the ants. So he'd go a little way and stop, and go and stop. So he couldn't carry it right. So Maharaj Rahugana chastised Jad Bharat for not carrying the palanquin right, and he criticized him and called him all kinds of, gave him all kinds of bad names or chastised him. But Jad Bharat then began to speak. Although he took a vow of silence, he began to speak Vaishnava philosophy. And the king Rahugana thought that the body and the mind and the soul, he thought the soul and the body were connected. But Jad Bharat had to instruct him in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 3 chapters, and instruct him about the nature of how the living entity, Jivara Sarupa, Nitya Krishna Das, the eternal servants of Krishna, and the soul and the body are not connected. But only because we get this false ego, it makes us think we're connected. Baladev Vitabhushan says that we're glued by the modes of nature. The body and soul are glued together. But if one is able to get released from the modes of nature, then he can get free from that glue. So the way to get released from the modes of nature is by taking to the process of Krishna consciousness. So the other yoga systems are difficult. Arjuna rejected it. Said, no, I can't practice this yoga you're talking about. He said it was more difficult than trying to control the wind with one's arms. This practice, it says, one should engage oneself in the practice of yoga with determination and faith, not deviate from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation, thus control all the senses, all sides, by the mind. But Arjuna said, no, I can't do this. This is too difficult. So in Kali Yuga, the practice of yoga is the practice of bhakti-yoga. So we have to also, by taking the Krishna consciousness, by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, then, even then, the mind is still active. Especially when you're chanting japa. Everyone takes initiation. We make a vow to chant 16 rounds, the Maha Mantra. And they asked Srila Prabhupada at one time, what would please him most? He said, if you can chant 16 rounds all at one time. So many devotees do that. They get up very early in the morning, 1, 2 o'clock, and chant 16 rounds before Mangalarti. But it may not be easy for everyone to do that. But when you chant, but also we have to chant without committing offenses. And the 10th offense is to be inattentive while chanting. So the mind will always be active. Even when we're trying to chant, the mind will go here and there and everywhere. But we have to bring the mind back under the control of the self and just hear the name. He asked Prabhupada what we should think of when we chant the holy name. He said, you don't have to think of anything. You just hear the sound of the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And in the Jaiva Dhamma, the person there, the yoga, Paramahansa, when he chanted the holy name, he could see Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's eightfold pastimes, but we're not at that level. So we have to just simply try to hear the holy name, try to focus. We can listen to Prabhupada, japa, chanting association of devotees, chanting in front of Tulsi Devi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would always be in the presence of Tulsi. When he sat in one place, he would have Tulsi next to him. When he gave a discourse, he'd have Tulsi next to him. Even when he walked on the street, someone would hold the Tulsi in front of him. So it's very important that we can chant in front of Tulsi. Tulsi is very merciful. She'll help us remove the anarthas, remove the impediments on devotional service. So the material world, there is the glitter of the material world described here. Isha says to do. Anyway, the living entity comes in this material world with desire and Isha says to mutena, desire and envy or desire and hate. And it's hard to give up material desires. The Prabhupada said if someone wants to take sannyas, then he shouldn't, when he sees a woman, he didn't think she's beautiful. Or if he sees a big car, he didn't think that's a very nice car. I wish I could have that. So to take sannyas, one should not be attracted by the glitter of the material world. Krishna consciousness is the way to engage our senses. Rishikesha sevanam bhakti uchite. We have to engage our senses in the service of this master of the senses, Krishna. So 9 processes of devotional service, beginning with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. And when Lord Chaitanya was traveling in South India, he met the Tapavadis, and they were proud Vaishnavas. So Lord Chaitanya asked them, what was the process for attaining perfection? And they said, by following Varnashram Dharma. But Lord Chaitanya said, no, that was not the process. The process was Shravanam Kirtanam, the chanting, hearing and chanting the holy name. In this age, this is the process. As Varnashram Dharma, one may do his duty in the Varnashram Dharma, Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. One may strictly follow the Varnashram Dharma, but if he doesn't have devotion, does not have any devotion to Krishna, Shravanam hi eva kevalam is simply a useless waste of time. Even if one has all the Brahminical qualifications, if he doesn't have any love for Krishna, if he's not practicing devotional service, then he can't benefit himself, nor can he benefit anyone else. It says that if the Brahmana, one may be a Brahmana with all the qualities of Brahmana, but if he's not a devotee, then he's like owning a cow that doesn't give any milk. So there are different kinds of Brahmanas in this world, and Vaishnava Brahmana. Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it says that the superior to dull matter is the non-moving living entities. Superior to them are the moving living entities, the 4 legs. Superior to them are the human beings. Superior to them are the ghosts, because ghosts don't have a material body. Superior to them are the Gandharvas. Superior to them are the Siddhas. Superior to them are Lord, the King of Heaven, Indra. Superior to him is Lord Shiva, and superior to him is Lord Brahma, because he's the father of Lord Shiva. But superior to all of them, the Supreme Personality of God said, superior to all of them is the Brahmanas. And Krishna said, the Lord said that I eat through the mouth of the Brahmanas. So this means not the Mayavadi Brahmanas, not the impersonal Brahmanas, but the Vaishnava Brahmanas. The Brahmanas who are practicing devotional service and are becoming Krishna conscious. So the distinction between different kinds of Brahmanas. One may have a thread and call himself a Brahmana, but by birth he may say, I'm a Brahmana because I was born in a Brahmin family. But the Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami's teachings all contradict that misconception that you have to be born in a Brahmin family to be a Brahmin. It's not by birth. It's Chaturvarnam Mahashishtam. It's not Janma Karma, because it's Guna Karma, by quality. If one is born a Sudra, but shows all the qualities of Brahman, he should be accepted as a Brahman. But one is a Brahman, but he's not acting like a Brahman, then he's not a Brahman. We meet many people they have a Brahmin thread. They say, I'm a Brahmin, but they're working in the bank or have a doctor or lawyer or some other engagement. They're not really Brahmins. The only Brahmin is named Brahma Bandhu, or the friends of twice born. So in this way, whatever ashram or whatever engagement one has to cultivate Krishna consciousness by following the 9 processes of Krishna consciousness, 9 processes of devotional service, Shramanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. And this way we can engage our senses, and especially the mind, by practicing devotional service. It says the idle mind is the devil's workshop. So we can should not let our mind become idle. We can rise early in the morning, chant Mangalarti, chant Japa, attend the Guru Puja, attend the Kirtans, do some service during the day. Take the time. Prabhupada said, Tapasya means reading my books 1 hour a day. You should try to read Prabhupada's books every day, 1 hour at least. He said, if you didn't read every word of my books, you'll become lazy. And Prabhupada said, we don't want lazy, crazy fellows in the ashram. So, we have to read Prabhupada's books, especially Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. We have to read them over and over again, and not read them, but study them, so we can also preach Krishna consciousness and never be defeated. Like Srila Prabhupada was never defeated. He had so many room conversations, morning walks, different engagements, spoke with different people, interviews, but no one ever could defeat Prabhupada in an argument. He'd always stress the points that life does not come from matter. The scientists want to say that we're just a bunch of chemicals. Life comes from chemicals. Prahlad Swami was making that point this morning, that you take a Rolls Royce, you take 2 Rolls Royce and you make a baby Rolls Royce. And when that baby Rolls Royce grows up, it can make another Rolls Royce. But it doesn't work that way. Life does not come from chemicals. Life comes from life. And they say they went to the moon. But Prabhupada was watching the moon landing on television in England. And when they turned off the television, Prabhupada said they never went to the moon. Well, one of his servants couldn't accept that fact, that he left Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada knew that the moon was farther away than the sun. He'd always say, why does Sunday come before Monday? If the moon is closer than the sun, then they could have gone to the moon. But it looks like it's closer than the sun in the sky because it's twice as big as the sun. But the sun is 93 million miles away, the moon is 96 million miles away, and to go to the moon by mechanical means is not possible. You have to have the karma, because the moon is a heavenly planet. Sages go there and drink somaras and live for 10,000 years. It's not just a barren desert. And scientists, they want to say there's no life on any other planet. There's only life on this planet. Prabhupada also defeated that argument, that there's life on every single planet, but it's according to the body construction. One gets the body on a different, the atmosphere and the planet. So in this way, Prabhupada was never defeated in an argument. He could defeat everyone, but with his Krishna conscious philosophy. So Prabhupada himself showed by example how to live by being fully engaged 24 hours a day. He'd have his morning walk, then he'd have his give Bhagavatam class, take darshan, Bhagavatam class, take prasadam, take massage, take a little rest, get up, and then 12 o'clock midnight, chant japa, translate, and go on his morning walk, give Bhagavatam class, preach to people. 24 hours a day he was engaged. He only slept for 4 hours a day, maybe more or less than that. But he was fully engaged. So in this way we should try to keep ourselves fully engaged so our mind will not pull us away from Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is like a razor's edge. When you're shaving your face, you have to be very attentive, otherwise you can cut yourself and start bleeding. So Krishna consciousness is like that. It's a razor's edge, and if we're not attentive and if we're not careful how we practice Krishna consciousness, we can be allured again and go back in the material world and try to enjoy again. But once we get the taste of Krishna's lotus feet, then you can never really enjoy again in the material world, if you try to. So people may leave Krishna consciousness for some time, but at some point they will come back again. Because Paramjisvara Nivartante, by practicing Krishna consciousness, we get a higher taste, which we don't get in the material world. Material world, Prahlad says, they're chewing the chewed. They trying to get a taste. You chew something, sugarcane, and you spit it out, then chew it again, but you don't get any taste after that. So everyone in the material world is chewing the chewed, trying to get some enjoyment out of the material world, but they can't get it. It's not available. So we should try to be very careful that we don't leave Krishna consciousness once we're following the process of Krishna consciousness. Once we take Harinam, Diksha, it's said in the story of Gajendra the elephant that if the disciple deviates, then the guru has to suffer by seeing bad dreams. So you don't want to make your guru suffer by deviating from Krishna consciousness. You have to chant 16 rounds every day and follow the 4 regular principles: no eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex. In this way, we have to always be on guard to control our mind, control our senses, and try to be serious about practicing Krishna consciousness and not get deviated by so many allurements nowadays. Once you turn on the computer, you push the wrong button, you see the wrong things, and outside world, signboards, billboards, everywhere, everything is centered around sex life. They even put pictures of women on the cement bags, on the car batteries. To attract people, they put the picture of women on everything. So we should not let ourselves be allured by these different attractions. We should try to, even if the late comer, we came to Krishna consciousness late in our life, when we did try to enjoy the material world, we should try to delete that from our minds and only think of the beautiful form, qualities, pastimes of Krishna 24 hours a day. We can redo that by reading Krishna book. Krishna Prabhupada wrote the Krishna book first. Somebody studied the 10th canto. All of Krishna's pastimes are there, 90 chapters. So daily we can read the Krishna book and fill up our mind with the Krishna's pastimes. He said we should read Krishna book at night. That was our program. Every night we would read the Krishna book. So in this way, we should make the mind our friend and not let it be our enemy. Anybody have any comments, questions? The microphone.
Dhruva was granted the kingdom even if he didn't want it. So why was this?
What?
Dhruva was granted the kingdom even if he didn't desire it when he became more mature. So why was he granted the kingdom even if he didn't want it? Dhruva Maharaj.
Yes.
Yeah. So when I think Vishnu Narayan appeared and he asked, "What do you want?" "I don't want anything," but still he got.
Well, he wanted a planet, something greater than his great-grandfather, Lord Brahma. So he was awarded the pole star, which is a planet that's never annihilated. It's a spiritual planet, where Svetadvip, where the Mahavishnu lies.
But did Dhruva Maharaj want it?
No, he did. After he got the darshan of the Lord, he said, "I was looking for broken glass, but I found a valuable jewel." But he still got that benediction. But that's the liberated stage. He was liberated because the pole star is a spiritual planet. It's not a material planet. So he got liberated, went back to Godhead after he ruled the world for I think he ruled the world, well that was Prahlad Maharaj, 36,000 years. Guru Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, one of them.
So sannyasa is forbidden in this age, but why do we take sannyas?
Because Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta gave sannyas for preaching. Sannyas go travel and preach all over the world. So to spread the Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada gave people sannyas for that purpose only, of traveling and preaching, spreading Krishna consciousness. Not for sitting in one place, sitting in Vrindavan, just to fill your belly. But sannyasis are, in our movement, they set the example. They're all very clean, and they are always traveling, preaching, doing kirtan, doing so many things, that trying to deliver the fallen conditioned souls. And that's the purpose of our movement. The purpose of sannyasis is to deliver the fallen conditioned souls. Question man here. Question man.
Correct. So, many devotees, they like to do different seva, just like somebody doing kirtan, somebody cooking, or somebody doing arti. So, they don't feel those two things are okay for them, they don't feel the reading is important. So, they don't avoid reading and just do their seva. They say we are doing seva, all the sevas are including reading also. So, can you say something about it, that reading is important or the other sevas are important?
Yeah, just like following Varnashram Dharma. But if you're not trying to become Krishna conscious at the same time, then you'll not be able to maintain your Krishna consciousness. You have to have sadhana at the same time. No one's exempt from sadhana. Whether it's a pujari or a cook, whatever his service is, he also has to have sadhana. He has to chant his rounds, 16 rounds, follow the principles, hear the class. No one's exempt from these things. People don't do it, they make excuses, they don't stay, they end up falling into Maya. Especially pujaris, they end up getting desire to go to the West and think that going to America will be a beautiful thing. And I can go to America and make a lot of money and be happy. But it's just the opposite. They go to America and they're not happy and they can't make any money. So this also applies to everyone. Everyone has to be careful. Everyone has to practice Krishna consciousness. Because everyone promises to chant 16 rounds, follow the 4 regular principles. Srila Prabhupada ki, Santaraj, Bhagavad-Gita ki.